Most people believe the ultra-rich spend their fortunes on things you can see. The cars. The jets. The watches with six-figure price tags. That is not wealth. That is a receipt. The families who have been wealthy for 300 years collect things that never appear on Instagram. Art that sits in climate-controlled vaults in Geneva. Land that has not changed hands since the 1600s. Historical artifacts that governments would pay millions to acquire. But they never will, because the owner is invisible. Today, we are going inside the collections that actually preserve wealth across generations. Stay until the end. The final asset class, the one old money families value above all others, is something most people would walk right past without noticing. In 2017, a painting sold for $450 million. Salvator Mundi, attributed to Leonardo da Vinci. The buyer? A Saudi prince acting through a proxy. Most people saw a painting. Old money saw a portable Swiss bank account. Here is the math no one explains. If you inherit $50 million in cash and you live in Europe, the tax authorities will eventually find it. If you inherit a $50 million painting and it is stored in a Geneva Freeport, there is no capital gains tax on art in Switzerland. There is no wealth tax on art stored in a Freeport. And when you sell it, if you ever sell it, you can do so privately, through an intermediary, without your name ever appearing on a public registry. The Rockefeller family did not collect art because they liked paintings. They collected art because Nelson Rockefeller's collection alone was valued at over $500 million at his death, and much of it transferred to the next generation before any tax authority could value it. Art is not decoration. It is a borderless, tax-advantaged, appreciable asset that fits in a crate. This is why old money does not collect flashy contemporary pieces everyone recognizes. They collect what experts value. A Rothko canvas that looks like three colored rectangles to an untrained eye, that is $86 million. A Basquiat that looks like graffiti, $110 million. The less the public understands it, the harder it is to tax. The harder it is to tax, the longer the wealth survives. Now, move from canvas to soil. The Duke of Westminster, Hugh Grosvenor, is worth approximately £10 billion. He is 33 years old. He inherited his wealth. What did he inherit? Not a business. Not a stock portfolio. He inherited 300 acres of prime London real estate, Belgravia and Mayfair. His family, the Grosvenors, acquired this land in 1677. That is 349 years ago. They have never sold it. The principle old money understands about land is the same principle they understand about everything: ownership without visibility. When you buy land, there is no quarterly earnings report. No CEO can get indicted. No market crash can delete the asset. The land simply sits there, in the center of a growing city, becoming more valuable every year while producing rent income every month. The same pattern repeats globally. The Agnelli family of Italy, Fiat founders, own vast agricultural estates across South America. The Wallenberg family of Sweden controls land holdings so old the deeds are handwritten in ink from the 1700s. The British royal family, through the Duchy of Cornwall, owns 130,000 acres of land across the United Kingdom, generating £25 million in annual income. Compare that to a luxury watch. A Patek Philippe costs $100,000. After 30 years, properly maintained, it might be worth $150,000. The same $100,000 invested in a small parcel of land adjacent to an expanding city? After 30 years, it could be worth $1 million, and it produced rental income every single year. The watch is visible. The land is not. That is exactly the point. The third category is the most overlooked: historical artifacts. In 2021, a first edition copy of the U.S. Constitution sold at auction for $43 million. The buyer was a consortium led by Ken Griffin, a hedge fund billionaire. Most people read the headline and moved on. Old money families read the headline and nodded, because they already owned several. The logic is simple. A Bugatti Chiron can be ordered today. Ferrari will build you a custom car if your check clears. But a Gutenberg Bible? There are only 49 copies in existence. A first folio Shakespeare? Fewer than 235. Ancient Greek coins from the 5th century BC? Nobody is minting more. Historical artifacts have a property no other asset possesses: absolute scarcity. The supply is fixed. The supply is declining. Artifacts get damaged, lost, or acquired by museums that never sell. And the demand, driven by new billionaires in China, India, and the Middle East who want to convert new money into old money status, is only rising. Old money families do not buy history to display it. They buy it to own something that cannot be created, duplicated, or diluted. Every new billionaire who enters the market pushes the prices of the remaining pieces higher. The existing owners do nothing, and their wealth compounds. The Rothschild family archives contain documents so historically significant that governments have requested access. The family has declined. Those documents, sitting in a private collection, become more valuable every year simply because they exist, and nobody else can touch them. Now the direct comparison: a newly wealthy entrepreneur buys a Rolls-Royce Phantom for $500,000. The moment the car leaves the showroom, it loses 10% of its value. After 5 years, it is worth half of what he paid. Maintenance, insurance, and depreciation consume another $50,000 per year. After a decade, the $500,000 asset is worth $180,000, and it cost $100,000 in maintenance to keep it there. Total loss, approximately $420,000. An old money family buys a $500,000 painting by an emerging but established artist, selected by an art advisor who has been working with the family for 30 years. After a decade, the artist's reputation has grown. The painting is now worth $900,000. There are no maintenance costs beyond climate-controlled storage. There is no depreciation. Art does not have moving parts that wear out. Total gain, $400,000, tax-deferred, sitting in a Freeport. Same starting amount, $500,000. One path ends at $180,000. The other ends at $900,000. The difference is not taste. The difference is an entire philosophy of what it means to own something. New money buys things that announce arrival. Old money buys things that guarantee survival. The car announces your wealth to every person on the street. The painting announces your wealth only to the auction house, the art advisor, and the tax authority, and only when you decide they need to know. Meanwhile, it appreciates quietly in the dark. There is one more collection old money families maintain, and it is the one most people overlook entirely. It is not art. It is not land. It is not historical artifacts. It is relationships. The Rockefeller family did not just collect paintings. They collected a network. Their private Rolodex included heads of state, central bank governors, university presidents, foundation directors, and the CEOs of companies they owned shares in. That network, passed down through generations, is worth more than any single asset the family holds. When a Rockefeller heir wants to start a business, they do not send a cold email. They call someone who knew their grandfather and who owes their career to a Rockefeller Foundation grant from 40 years ago. That call gets returned in 10 minutes. Old money families teach their children that every relationship is a compounding asset. A favor done today, a board seat offered, an introduction made, a charitable donation directed, may not pay off for 15 years, but when it does, it pays an access that no amount of money can buy. This is the collection that cannot be seized, taxed, or diluted. It lives only in memory, trust, and reciprocity. And it is the one collection old money families guard most jealously, because once the network breaks, the wealth usually follows within a generation. The difference between old money and new money is not the amount. It is the time horizon. New money collects trophies, things that prove the climb was real. Old money collects assets, things that make sure the landing is permanent. The painting does not depreciate. The land does not evaporate. The artifact cannot be duplicated. The network cannot be confiscated. Most people walk through a museum and see beautiful objects. Old money walks through the same museum and sees a storage facility, one where the assets are safe, the visitors fund the maintenance, and the public never asks who owns what. The goal is not to look rich. The goal is to own things so quietly valuable that nobody knows to ask about them, until it is too late to compete. The car is invisible. The portfolio is permanent. And the collection? The collection is the only thing that outlives the collector.